Inside the Magic, show number 365 for April 1st, 2012. It is Sunday, April 1st, 2012. This is show 365 of Inside the Magic, and as always, I am your host, Ricky Briganti. We do have another great show packed with Disney and theme park news and a whole lot more fun. And before we get started with all of that, I invite you to visit our website over at InsideTheMagic.net. There you'll find all of our podcasts, videos, photos, news, articles, and so much more. And if you ever have any news, tips, questions, comments, you can always write to me at ricky@InsideTheMagic.net, or you can call and leave a message at 407-494-4ITM. That's 4486. And now, let's get on with the show. And this week's episode of Inside the Magic is brought to you by Magical Travel. You can purchase a non-discounted 5-night, 6-day Magic Your Way room and ticket package at select Disney resort hotels, and now receive a free dining plan. That's right, free dining has returned once again. The offer is valid for most arrivals between August 25th and September 29th of 2012, and you want to book now through May 18th. You can choose between free Disney dining or free Disney quick service dining plans and save hundreds of dollars on your next vacation. Do it all by calling Magical Travel today at 866-207-8387 or visit them online at magicaltravel.com to receive a free price quote. And be sure to mention Inside the Magic when you contact them to receive your free Disney gift card for qualifying bookings when you book your Disney vacation with Magical Travel. And by listeners and viewers like you, thanks very much for your donations, be it one-time or recurring, or just clicking through those affiliate links on the website. It all supports the show, and I thank you very much for that. And now, let's get started with our trip around the world. So as I said at the top of the show, not only is it show 365, which means that after this week's show, you will be able to play or listen to an Inside the Magic episode every single day for an entire year, not a leap year, but a regular year, and never repeat one. So that's, I guess, some sort of a milestone for Inside the Magic. I also want to mention that, of course, it is April 1st, and that means it's April Fool's Day. Don't worry. Not going to have any April Fool's stories here on the show. You can believe everything that you hear or you see on this week's show. Except, I do want to mention at the top of the show here, very late last night, just after midnight Pacific time, I received a press release that I believed for a second, but then and then realized what the date was. It was announcing a supposed restaurant coming to theme park areas with a very elaborate website called Spielburgers. And, of course, that's combining Steven Spielberg with burgers. Great concept art for this restaurant. Unfortunately, it's not real. I would actually love to go to this restaurant, but supposedly would feature themes of Jurassic Park rooms and Back to the Future and Close Encounters of the Third Kind and a bunch of other Steven Spielberg movies with menu items like Doc Brownies and the Dr. Hammond cheese sandwich and other punny menu items. Anyway, I thought that was a good April Fool's joke. I haven't seen too many good ones so far today. I'm sure they are out there. But anyway, enough with that. But speaking of April Fools, actually, this is one bit of news that I think a few people thought was April Fool's related, and this music in the background may clue you in a little bit as to what I'm talking about. Just yesterday, a day after Disney officially confirmed it, riding the, out here, Walt Disney World, riding the Magic Kingdom Express monorail track is the new Avengers Monorail. Well, it's an old monorail. It's actually Monorail Red, and it has been wrapped in an Avengers theme in promotion of the upcoming Disney and Marvel movie, The Avengers. Of course, this music you're hearing in the background now is actually music from Universal's Islands of Adventure theme park from Marvel Superhero Island, which is where the kind of craziness lies here. We now have Marvel integration into Universal Orlando, which has been around for a while, but now, since Disney has owned Marvel since 2009, there's now Marvel officially at Walt Disney World other than in merchandise, and there's a lot of mixed reactions when it comes to this new wrapped monorail Red, rather than being your typical white monorail. And it's now wrapped in black. The entire monorail is glossy black, which I think looks kind of nice. But then in addition to that, there are characters from the Avengers on there. There's the Hulk, Iron Man, Captain America, Black Widow, Hawkeye, and Thor. and they are sort of flying and fighting and doing all the Avengers kind of things that they do on the side of the monorail. In addition, there are some lightning bolts running down the back of it, along with a logo for the movie, The Avengers, letting everybody know it's coming out on May 4th to theaters. And then there's even a logo for S.H.I.E.L.D. For those of you who are fans, you'll recognize that. It's not clear how long the Avengers Monorail is going to stay in Avengers Monorail. The Tronorail, of course, was the most recent wrapped monorail promoting Tron Legacy, and that lasted for more than a year. I have a feeling the Avengers Monorail is not going to be around quite as long as that. I'm sure they'll promote it throughout the theatrical run of the film, maybe through the DVD release, and then get rid of it. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Surely the Avengers will be a hugely successful film. Many, many people are really looking forward to it. I'm not a huge Avengers fan. I don't dislike it. I don't like the whole thing. I actually haven't even seen all the movies yet that lead up to the Avengers, so I'm going to have to go watch all those prior to the Avengers coming out. Anyway, it hits theaters again May 4th, and if you want to see the new Avenger Rail, as many are calling it, of course you can head to InsideTheMagic.net, check out photos and video of its debut at Walt Disney World, and then you can also, of course, go to Walt Disney World in person. It is running on the Magic Kingdom Express line, potentially could run on the Resort line, but I'm told it will not run on the Epcot monorail line. Apparently there are some legal issues there regarding perhaps use of the Avengers and Marvel characters inside a theme park, since the Epcot line actually goes into the park as opposed to around the park like the other ones, and that whole licensing agreement with Universal and all of that. So I'm not 100% sure as to that is the reason, but that's what I've been told, that it will be running on the Magic Kingdom line or the Resort line, and every 20 minutes or so is when you'll see it when it is out and about. And with that, we'll turn off the Marvel Superhero Island music and move on to something a little bit more Disney. How about some Epcot World Showcase music? And actually, it's pretty fitting because our next story is, it's not from Epcot, but it kind of ties in with this sort of worldly-sounding music, and it is over at Magic Kingdom. It's Fairy Tale Garden at Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom will soon be transformed into the Scottish Highlands in promotion or in preparation for Brave, Disney Pixar's next film, featuring female lead character Merida, and she's going to have her own meet and greet. Actually, it's going to be a play and greet. It's replacing the meet and greet, play and greet that Rapunzel currently has at the Magic Kingdom. It's actually going to show up in the park in May, though the movie doesn't hit theaters until June 22nd, so it will certainly lead up to that. There's also going to be a Merida meet and greet at Disneyland in California near It's a Small World in Fantasyland. But in the play and greet in Florida, Merida will do some archery lessons of some sort. I can't imagine they're actually going to have park guests shooting bows and arrows, but it'll be some sort of archery lessons, and then other activities as well. And 3 bear cub characters from the film will also be a big part in this play and greet experience. Disney released a few pieces of concept art for it, which those of you watching the video version of this show can see them now, and everybody else, head to InsideTheMagic.net to check that out. And if you're wondering when Rapunzel's going to be disappearing, well, she's not going away completely from the Magic Kingdom. As of April 15th, Rapunzel will be moving to Adventureland instead. Of course, there are rumors, and I emphasize rumors, that Rapunzel's getting a more permanent home in Fantasyland over near It's a Small World. There is a big construction zone over there, sort of in between the Haunted Mansion and It's a Small World, but Disney hasn't announced anything like that, and it could be something completely unrelated. So for now, Rapunzel will be moving on over to Adventureland as we await the appearance of Merida, who, by the way, is going to be a face character, the very first face character to come out of a Disney Pixar film. Definitely looking forward to that sometime in May. Also debuting in May will be the first phase, moving away from the theme parks over to the resorts, first phase of Disney's Art of Animation Resort. It's a newest value resort. It's going to take over for the unfinished half of Pop Century, and at the end of May is when that first phase is going to debut. But this week, the Orlando Business Journal had the opportunity to take a little construction tour and shared a really interesting photo of something I hadn't seen before and hadn't really heard too much about. Apparently, at Disney's Art of Animation Resort, there's going to be a different check-in process. You're going to walk up, and there's not going to be one long check-in desk, staffed by a bunch of Disney cast members. Instead, there's going to be a bit of a different check-in. It's going to feature individual tables and chairs where you walk up and have a quick one-on-one personalized check-in process with a cast member eager and ready to assist you and sit down with you and go over all the details of your stay there, rather than having to wait in a nice long line standing there endlessly while you wait for a handful of cast members to check in. So definitely a different sort of experience there. It seems like Art of Animation as a whole, despite the fact that it is a value resort, is going to feature a lot of different technologies. Another worth noting is that the rooms are going to have RFID equipped entry and locks, very similar to how Disney Cruise Line has it. So your key card for the room, you just kind of tap it up to the lock and it will open and close. You don't have to swipe or insert or anything like that. So should be a pretty new and exciting hotel when it begins its first phase. That'll be the grand opening officially at the very end of May, May 31st. Now let's head on over to Epcot, where there's a new exhibit coming soon to Innoventions, and it's replacing the House of Innoventions. Those are going to be very similar, and it's called the Vision House. It's going to be opening officially on April 22nd, which is Earth Day. It's coming from Green Builder Media, and this Vision House is basically set to, quote, educate and inform visitors on the benefits of green homes and offer sustainable living ideas to enhance their daily lives, end quote. The exhibit is going to feature whole home automation, energy efficiency, on-site renewable power, water conservation, indoor environment quality, security, integrated multi-generational design, and durability. I know that's a lot of buzzwords in there, but really it's going to feature these cool products to make your home more green, more environmentally friendly, and save energy and make your life a little bit easier as well. Whole home automation is definitely a fun thing. I have a lot of the lights in my own personal house that I have on remote controls, which is very, very handy, and there's a lot more you can do with home automation. I look forward to seeing it all. I'm actually going to attend a preview of the Vision House the evening of April 21st, so be sure to follow us on Twitter and Facebook to see inside, and then head on over there on April 22nd, Earth Day, to see it in person. Now let's hop over to Disney's Animal Kingdom, where just a day or two ago, the Disney Parks blog announced a few new food and drink options over in that park. At Tamu Tamu at Animal Kingdom, you can now get a slow-roasted pulled beef sandwich that comes with house-made potato chips, and judging by the photo that they released, this is something I definitely will want to check out next time I'm in the parks. And if you're looking for something cold to drink as well for you adults out there, at the outdoor Dawa Bar in the Harambe Village, there's the new Triple Yeti Blast, which is a frozen layered margarita, and also sounds pretty tasty. So, but that pulled beef sandwich looks good. I will have to check it out next time I'm over there. And speaking of Animal Kingdom, of course, the Imagineer behind much of what you see at Disney's Animal Kingdom is none other than Joe Rohde, and he just recently received the Buzz Price Thea Award, recognizing a career of distinguished achievements. And Disney Parks blog had a quick interview with Rohde about that achievement, but more notably, they asked him about Avatar and the progress of that project and his involvement with it, and most importantly, his thoughts on the Avatar project. So Joe Rohde said, quote, "When I think about the Avatar story in Disney's Animal Kingdom, I see the value systems that underlie both. We have the opportunity to tell that story in a way that will make the Avatar experience feel like a natural part of Disney's Animal Kingdom," end quote. So you can hear sort of the flip side to the James Cameron wide-eyed sci-fi looking experience that I'm sure he'll bring to the table is Joe Rohde, where he's really emphasizing the natural element of Avatar and how that, though it is a fantasy land of Pandora and the Na'vi and all of that, he will still tie it into the very real and very natural elements of Disney's Animal Kingdom as that project progresses over the next few years. Of course, Bob Iger at the recent shareholders meeting said that it's likely that the Avatar project at Disney's Animal Kingdom will not see the light of day until 2015 or so. So it's going to be a little while before we see really anything recognizable coming out of that. Let's jump now to California, to the other coast, to the Disneyland Resort, where this week for 3 days, Disney California Adventure had a special merchandise showcase event specifically for annual pass holders. A lot of merchandise that's going to be coming out in the next few months related to Cars Land and Buena Vista Street and all of the ongoing projects as part of this big 5-year, billion-dollar-plus renovation of the park that's been going on for so long now. And Disney was really eager to show off and sell a lot of this merchandise to annual pass holders, who of course are the most eager fans of them all. Jeremiah Dawes was there and covered it for us. If you head on over to InsideTheMagic.net, you can see a little video tour of the whole showcase event. Just to mention a few things that were there, there's some really nice costumes for Buena Vista Street. In addition to the merchandise, Disney was showing off cast member costumes that you'll see cast members wearing when those areas open in mid-June at California Adventure. The Buena Vista Street costumes had a shirt and tie for guys with suspenders. Definitely very period piece of costuming for the 20s, 30s feeling of Buena Vista Street. In addition, a Cars Land costume was shown off that is most definitely inspired by John Lasseter. It looks like a shirt, one of those Hawaiian shirts that Lasseter would wear, but it is filled with Cars characters, and that's actually going to be a Cars Land costume. So you're going to see a bunch of cast members basically dressed like John Lasseter, which I think is it's kind of funny, actually. As far as the merchandise goes, there's a lot of T-shirts and posters of those great attraction posters that Disney has been showing off on their construction walls at California Adventure for so long. All those will become available. There's also a great Cars Land Mickey ear hat with tires for ears, of course, and the Cars Land logo on there. In addition to all of that, Disney was also offering a look at the Mad Tea Party, which is going to be replacing Electronica. Electronica is closing in just a couple of weeks, whereas a Mad Tea Party will be debuting on June 15th along with Cars Land and Buena Vista Street. And the one noteworthy new piece of artwork that Disney showed off at this merchandise showcase event was a first look at the rabbit hole that everybody's going to be walking through in order to enter the Mad Tea Party. This, I assume, is going to go where the big recognizer is now for Electronica, and it's sort of this big, colorful, wispy, circular, modern-looking, I don't even know how else to describe it as far as the rabbit hole goes. For those of you watching the video version, you see it right now. Everybody else, head to InsideTheMagic.net to take a look at this big archway, I guess, that you will walk through in order to enter the Mad Tea Party. If you head over to the website, you'll also see some more Mad Tea Party merchandise that will be for sale, including glowing rabbit ears, plenty of T-shirts, and hats, and all that kind of good stuff. Now, normally we don't talk too much about the overseas parks, mainly because I haven't been there. I don't know much about it. I can't keep up with the daily, sort of the day-to-day of those parks. But when something major happens, it is definitely worth recognizing. And just last night was the big media event, a big media blitz and debut of the new show at Disneyland Paris. This is a new nighttime spectacular called Disney Dreams, and it has just lit up the Disney fan community. Seems like one incredible show. It takes place on their Sleeping Beauty castle, which is, of course, a very ornate, fantastic castle at Disneyland Paris. And this show basically combines elements of World of Color, the Magic Memories and You projections, Phantasmic and mist screens, and it just seamlessly integrates it all with fountains and lasers and fireworks and other pyrotechnics and projections and mist screens that and plenty of music and Disney characters, and just it is an incredible show that really is something that I hope I will get to see not only someday at Disneyland Paris, but perhaps out here in Florida. That there are rumors that perhaps this show will replace Wishes someday at the Magic Kingdom. It's just rumors at this point, but for now, Disney Dreams officially premieres to the public today, and it will be performed twice nightly as part of Disneyland Paris's 20th anniversary celebration, along with a new parade with new floats. And we're actually going to have a little bit more about Disney Dreams later in this week's show. Now, last week, or rather, not even a week ago, on Tuesday, was our special, slightly delayed edition of Inside the Magic on Tuesday, where I talked for a couple of hours about the Disney Fantasy Cruise Ship, the newest Disney Cruise Line ship, and I wanted to put just a quick mention here. Of course, I'll be talking a little bit more about one specific element of the ship this week, but I did want to mention that today, or rather yesterday, the Disney Fantasy left Port Canaveral on its maiden voyage, officially ready to go for the public. Preview cruises have ended. The Disney Fantasy sailed on March 31st for its first 7-day cruise with guests. And you can head on over to InsideTheMagic.net to continue to enjoy all of the coverage that I'm certainly not done posting everything. I've already posted articles about the Muppets Adventure Game and the Midship Detective Agency, which I'm going to talk more about in just a little bit. Tours of the various decks of the ship, the Wishes show, the new show, stage show musical on board, food reviews, staterooms, adult areas on the ship, meeting up with the Disney Dream, and so much more, and there is definitely more to come. So just visit InsideTheMagic.net. You'll see a big banner on there for the Disney Fantasy. Click on that, and you'll get a list of all of the articles so far, and keep checking back there for more to come in the coming days. And one final bit of news this week comes from the world of television, where just today on Disney XD, Disney's sort of TV channel that's aimed at preteen teenage boys, they debuted. This is another Marvel item. It's Ultimate Spider-Man as a new animated show debuting on Disney XD today. And during that show, I actually did not watch Ultimate Spider-Man, but I did record it because I found out last night that they were going to be previewing just a quick little teaser for Tron Uprising, which is a new animated series based on the world of Tron that's also going to be on Disney XD coming in June of this year. And the teaser, though very, very short, I really enjoyed seeing it. It showed just a little bit of animation, had Bruce Boxleitner's voice. Of course, he played Tron in Tron and Tron Legacy, and he'll be reprising his role once again on Tron Uprising, this new show. And in this trailer, not only did you hear Boxleitner and hear a bit of Daft Punk music, but you also heard him say that he's looking for the new Tron. So that seems to be one of the bases anyway for the new Tron Uprising show, which I am definitely looking forward to seeing when it debuts on Disney XD in just a couple of months. And that'll do it for your news from around the world this week.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, in just 10 minutes.
No, not in just 10 minutes. That was just the Illuminations announcement, but instead we have this. That's what happens when I play music from the parks and don't realize what part of the song I'm in, and other random announcements make it into the show. Anyway, let's move on with a tip for today. This one comes in from Alicia, who writes, if you're on the dining plan, which of course we mentioned earlier in the show, and don't have room for dessert, identify a quick service dining restaurant that serves Mickey Mouse Rice Krispie treats as a dessert. And you can save these for later in the trip and redeem a different snack, or if it's close to a holiday, put them in your kids' Easter basket or bring them home to a family as souvenirs. Alicia, great tip. You certainly don't want those extra points on your dining plan to go to waste, so you might as well grab something that you can take with you on the go, like that Rice Krispie treat, and then you can eat it at your convenience, eat it in the parks, or give it as a gift. Everybody loves those Mickey-shaped Rice Krispie treats. Definitely a good tip there. Everybody else, email your tips into tips@InsideTheMagic.net. And we do have a few fun features coming up on this week's show, as I said, from Disneyland Paris, as well as from a little bit more from the Disney Cruise Line. But before we get to all of that, I do need to put in a quick word about a fun sponsor of this show known as Theme Park Connection. I've mentioned them many, many times here, and I will mention them once again because Theme Park Connection is a great place to find unique and rare Disney items for sale, and you can actually sell your stuff to them as well if you've got extra Disney stuff lying around. They bill themselves as the largest Disney pawn shop, essentially, and they have a store here in Winter Garden, Florida, about 15-20 minutes north of the Magic Kingdom, as well as an eBay store online, and you can find out information about how to get there to their warehouse, which recently has doubled in size, or just visit their eBay store on their website at themeparkconnection.com. You're going to be seeing more out of them in the near future as they've been shooting a reality show, which is very interesting. We'll have to follow that. So definitely check their website out. Again, it is at themeparkconnection.com. Now, before we talk about the Disney cruise a little bit more and Disney dreams over at Disneyland Paris, I have some other news that's actually coming out this week. And first, I'm going to read an email that came in from Miriam, who wrote to me just a few days ago. I finished the first book of Kingdom Keepers at noon today and can't stop thinking about it. I have to tell you that I loved it, and I didn't get up from my chair until I finished it. It was so fast-paced and well thought out. Give it a try. Can't wait until the next book to see what happens. It's for kids, obviously, but arguably, so is the rest of Walt Disney World. Well, Miriam, you had really good time with your email. I'm glad you enjoyed that Kingdom Keepers book, and another one is on the way just a couple of days from now. It'll be the 5th book in the Kingdom Keepers series, and you know what? I haven't read these books. I'm not a big reader to begin with. However, somebody who recently contributed to the show is returning this week and can talk much more about Kingdom Keepers. It is none other than Maggie, who we featured a couple of weeks ago here on the show to talk about the Epcot Flower and Garden Festival. I had asked many of you to email in and let me know what you thought of her thoughts on the Flower and Garden Festival. Got a great positive response, so I've invited her back this week to talk about Kingdom Keepers because she is a fan of the series. She's looking forward to the 5th book coming up, and she wants to let you know why Kingdom Keeper is going to be the book for you.
Hello, Inside the Magic viewers and listeners. Guess what? I'm back! Now, if you don't know who I am from the previous show I was on, I think show 362, my name's Maggie Cameron. I'm 16 years old and from here in Central Florida, and is a huge Disney-obsessed fan. Last time I was here on the show, I talked about something that was going on in the parks, but now I'm going to be talking about something that's about the parks. Now, you've probably seen these books around Disney, all the Disney gift shops, all around Disney properties. You think they look kind of cheesy and meant for kids, but I'm here to reassure you, they are not. This series is called the Kingdom Keepers. Now, it's a whole series. There's 7 books planned. The 5th, there's 4 of them out right now. The 5th one's coming out soon on April 3rd. These books are amazing. They're become really addictive. They're like the Hunger Games for Disney fans. Let me tell you really quickly what they're about. The Kingdom Keepers is about these 5 kids who are chosen to be a new Disney attraction that they're going to be holograms hosting around the guests around the parks. But the actual reason why they were chosen to be a hologram in the park was because they needed somebody to become an attraction to go inside the parks at night and save Disney from the Overtakers, which are all the Disney villains that come to life at night once the parks are closed. And they have to go through every park all throughout the world practically to save Disney. I'm going to give you 5 reasons why you should read Kingdom Keepers, because 5 is a very big number, it's very simple, and plus the 5th one's coming out on April 3rd. First reason why I should read Kingdom Keepers is because it has everything you ever want in a book. It has romance, adventure, suspense, mystery, sci-fi, technology. The second reason why I should read Kingdom Keepers is because this Marvel characters that we all kind of love and hate at the same time attacks the main characters. Not by their singing, by like biting them and punching and kicking to the point where they want them to be dead. Yes, it sounds like something Stephen King would dream of, but it's actually in the book. And the third reason why I should read Kingdom Keepers is because you learn so much about Disney. There's so much about Disney's history, myths and rumors about the parks, and even what happens behind the scenes in the parks are embedded in the story throughout the whole entire series. The fourth reason why I should read it is because even though it's meant for about younger preteen teenagers, it's written for all Disney lovers alike, teenage age or teenage at heart. It is truly an amazing book just for Disney freaks. Fifth and last reason why you should read The Kingdom Keepers is because it's written so visually well. Ridley Pearson, who's the author of the series, writes it as if you were reading some type of movie script. And honestly, I don't know why Disney hasn't made a movie into it yet. It has everything they need. Granted, there's always been this big debate, it's because they go all behind the scenes and stuff, but the characters come to life after the park closes. How much more magic do you need? Hopefully throughout the 5 reasons I convince you to read this series. This series is absolutely amazing. I recommend it to anybody who loves any type of book. Pick up the books soon and get addicted to them like I did. And, well, if you're reading Hunger Games, then you can keep on going with Hunger Games because they are good. And usually most people finish them in about 3 days to a week, which I understand. But once you're done with your Hunger Games books, if you're reading them, then you can read Kingdom Keepers. Remember, the 5th one comes out April 3rd, which I will be pre-ordering on my Nook right after I'm done filming this. So let me go and pre-order my book. Hope to see you soon.
Thanks very much, Maggie. As I said, I have not read those Kingdom Keepers books, but I do know that a lot of people are fans of them, many looking forward to the 5th book coming out just a couple of days from now, and I can see why. Definitely books that are aimed at, a younger generation, as you said, sort of preteens and teenagers. And, of course, Maggie, for those of you who weren't familiar with her appearance a couple of weeks ago, she is a 16-year-old contributor here on the show. Perfect age to be talking about the Kingdom Keepers series, but it does sound like anybody of all ages would enjoy them very much. And Ridley Pearson, the author of Kingdom Keepers, does make appearances around the parks quite often, especially promoting books when they come out, so you want to keep an eye out for those happenings. But yeah, there it is, a review of the Kingdom Keepers series. Thanks, Maggie, once again for contributing to the show. And this instantly recognizable music should clue you in as to what we're going to be talking about now. And of course, it is the Muppets. And actually, before we get into the Muppets, I do have a quick email to read. We're going to be talking about the Muppets Adventure Game on the Disney Fantasy. It's something that I talked about just very briefly last week on the show because I had lots and lots to talk about with the Disney Fantasy. But the Muppets Adventure Game is definitely a standout new experience on that ship. And so I wanted to pull it out and talk more about it on this week's show. But before we get to that, I had mentioned last week that the Disney Fantasy on that inaugural preview cruise met up with the Disney Dream ship 3 times, which was a really fun event. I really enjoyed seeing it. I posted a lot of video from my perspective riding on the Disney Fantasy, but then I received a comment from somebody who was actually on the Disney Dream at the same time, looking from the opposite direction over at the Fantasy. His name was Rich, and he wrote in and said they were on the Dream for a 5-day cruise. Anyway, I'll read what Rich wrote. He wrote, on Saturday about 4 p.m., Captain Gus had informed the Dream crew and its passengers that we would be pulling up beside the Fantasy that night, and we would be able to see each other's fireworks. It was the Dream's Pirates in the Caribbean night. The top decks were loaded with people, and most excited were the crew members. They were taking in every moment of the encounters, giving cameras to those who could be up top from those who had to work. One of the most common phrases I heard was, so that is what we look like. Captain Gus also informed us that at the same time we would be making a drive-by of Castaway Cay on Sunday. It was a beautiful sight to see the Fantasy in dock at Castaway Cay. Tons of crew members were trying to get pictures of themselves and the Fantasy together. It really made the atmosphere electric with excitement. Then about 3 p.m. on Sunday, Captain Gus informed the Dream about the Fantasy overtaking the Dream at about 7:20 p.m. that night. The captain called the event the Triple Crown event. The horn battle was fun to experience from Deck 12 portside. And one more thing happened Monday evening around 11 p.m. or so. The Dream, as the Dream was heading to Cape Canaveral, from our veranda, I saw the Fantasy cruising past us heading toward Freeport, Bahamas on her next cruise. A 4-peat. What a memorable cruise it was. So much Disney geekness by everyone on the Disney Dream. Thanks very much for sending that in. It's great to hear about the sort of other perspective of seeing that once-in-a-lifetime experience of meeting up with the sister ship multiple times on a single voyage. So, with that said, now let's talk about what I found to be one of the best experiences aboard the Disney Fantasy, and one of the newest. Of course, it's exclusive at the moment to the Disney Fantasy, and it is the Muppets Adventure Game. Of course, we've talked a lot recently about Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom, the new interactive role-playing game over at the Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World, which requires you to hold up variety of trading cards up to these magic portal screens and sort of battle villains that way. And in my opinion, this newly enhanced version of the Midship Detective Agency featuring the Muppets is a better experience than Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom. Many of the same Imagineers were involved in creating both. Both experiences, of course, do involve players holding up cards. Sorcerers has multiple cards. The Midship Detective Agency / Muppets Adventure Game has just a card, and you hold them up to a video screen to trigger interactive game elements. But really, that's where sort of the similarities end there. They're very, very different experiences. Of course, a few weeks ago here on the show, we talked with Imagineer Jonathan Ackley, who was sort of the brain behind all of these experiences, and he told me that he had actually pitched the idea for Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom before thinking up the Midship Detective Agency, although Midship first debuted on the Disney Dream last January before Sorcerers did, so it's sort of a weird timeline thing there. There are actually 3 different games when it comes to the Midship Detective Agency on the Fantasy. There's 2 that are on the Dream as well. One, you follow Mickey Mouse and the gang, and the other one, you're following the world of 101 Dalmatians and puppies and all of that kind of thing. But then there's the new game, the Muppets Adventure Game, which definitely is the best of the 3. They've taken a lot of things that they learned from the other 2 and made the Muppets game even more adventurous and more interactive and a little bit more difficult as well. And to really explain to you the basics of the Muppets game, rather than me doing it, I want to welcome here to the show via a little tour that I went on the Disney Fantasy, a couple of other Imagineers that worked on the project and worked on the Disney Fantasy. They are Imagineers Bob Zalk and Karen Leung, who you're going to hear from first, followed by Zalk a little bit after, to explain the basics of the Muppets Adventure Game, along with a few behind-the-scenes details about its creation. You're going to see a little sampling and hear a little sampling of the game itself, including the introduction. Minor spoilers if you don't want to be completely, ruining the whole experience. You may want to turn this out, but it's really not a big deal. It's really just sort of the introductory parts of it. So now let's head over to the Disney Fantasy for a quick tour of the Muppets Adventure Game is all about.
The Muppet Adventure Game, we're very excited to be featuring the Muppets, first of all, and adding a great new thing to the Midship Detective Agency.
Which case would you like to solve?
As Bob said, we have 3 cases now, and in the Muppet Adventure Game, you're helping Kermit and Pepe find the missing props because they're trying to put on a show, and they don't know who did it. And this is just a great... This is a thing where guests can really do on their own at their leisure throughout their entire cruise. So we have a kiosk here, headquarters down on deck 2, and another one up on deck 5. And it's especially great for sea days since, you have so much time on the ship to really explore and get to know the ship. But I'm going to have Kermit and Pepe teach you about all the Midship Detective Agency needs, and then we can try it out at one of the enchanted art pieces.
Welcome to the Midship Detective Agency. Which case would you like to solve? Please choose one.
This is coming along perfectly. I get
Mickey!
Yes?
Hey, Mickey, where are... Pepe, what are you doing in Mickey's office? I have an important case.
Well,
No?
Mickey Mouse is out to lunch, okay?
Okay.
I don't mean this disrespectfully.
Okay.
But he put me in charge, okay?
You gotta be kidding.
No, it's true. I'm in charge, so what is the problem?
Okay, listen, someone has taken all our props, and we can't perform the show without them.
Oh, Kermit! Kissy!
No?
Now that we are on a romantic cruise, where are you taking off for dinner tonight, huh?
Piggy, I can't think about that. Someone has taken all our props, and we can't perform our show without them.
I'm available.
Stuff it, Shrimp!
Okay.
We'll talk about this later.
Good grief. Pepe, what we need is a real detective. Hey, how about you? Can you help us?
Oh, I don't think so, Carmen. I think we could do better, okay?
No, listen, really, we need your help to find our missing props, or we won't be able to put on our show. You're gonna have to search all over the ship. Okay, folks, the detective trainer Susan will now explain how to help.
We will be issuing you a high-tech detective badge that you'll use to solve the case. Your team will share one badge. To use it, you will need to face the black and white pattern toward the center of the screen while holding it from the bottom. Make sure your fingers don't cover the pattern and keep the badge straight up and down. You will also need to stand on the mark. First, we'll need to activate your badge. Pick up one badge and stand on the mark. Now, hold up your badge with the black and white pattern facing the screen. Well done. Now move your badge until it matches exactly with the... Good job.
So this is all
This
a part
badge
of the
number is
training
now
for
registered
how
to
to use
your
your
team.
badge, and
Now,
it
let's
identifies
practice.
this specific badge
Use the
number
magnifying glass
to
until you
my
find the
specific
key.
game.
Great work. Your badge can be used in different ways. You might need to rotate something slowly. Or some things might need to be pushed. And if it starts to look like this, and you hear this noise, it means your badge isn't straight up and down. So make sure you're holding it correctly. We will give you a casebook. It contains important information about each Muppet. They must all be considered suspects. On the back is a map showing locations where you'll need to search for clues. At each place, you'll find a piece of art. Hold up your badge toward the art and a location will be revealed. When you find a clue, write it down. This will help you narrow down the suspects and figure out who stole the props. Now, pick up a pencil and the casebook with the green label.
Pepe, did you get all that? Pepe, I said, did you get all that?
Not a word, but I love the way she talks.
Okay, well, listen. Let's start at the scene of the crime, the trunk of props. You'll find it at this location. So go there now.
And, you know, I wanted to start at the soft-serve ice creams, but...
Yeah?
Okay, we'll do your thing first.
Okay. Find this painting on your map. We'll meet you there.
So you can have a different start location depending on your game, and it's different for everyone's card. And basically, right now I'm going to show you a location that we can play at Bambi. But really, each card is unique, and depending on who you, on when you register and how many times you play, if you register with the same card, you can get a different culprit each time. And over the Enchanted Art, you'll see different clues depending on what painting you see. And at each of the Enchanted Art pieces, it detects your presence as well as your face, so that it activates when people look at it. And when I hold up the card, it'll detect my special badge, and I can start playing the game.
Here we are at the scene of the crime, the empty trunk of props. Dun, dun, dun. Detectives, use your flashlight to look for clues.
So with each painting, you have full control of like what you need to look for, and hopefully you find a clue or a missing prop. Here,
Hey, what did you find?
I found
A
a
broken
clue.
clock. Great work, detectives. The culprit must have broken it. Do you know what this means?
Hey, time to get a new clock?
Means we know the time that the crime took place. 1:47 p.m.
That seems like something that should be remembered and written down.
Like a clue.
See, go ahead and write it in your casebook.
Now let's look for more clues. Choose a painting from your map, and we'll meet you there.
Did somebody call for a crime scene cleanup?
And I could be playing a totally different game too, and sometime in the game I come across Bambi, and I'm going to see a different clue.
Keep your badge.
Gee, I wonder why these parts are connected. That's suspicious. See if you can use your wrench to straighten things out. It's one of Animal's drumsticks.
The other one must be here somewhere, okay?
Right. Keep looking.
So there are lots of little mini puzzles as you come across each painting. As you, Kermit and Pepe find the clue or
drumsticks.
Oh, drumsticks. Drumsticks. Drum pipes.
Hey, what was that on the drumsticks?
Looks like green paint. That's an important clue.
How is green paint a clue?
Only a few Muppets have been around green paint. If we know who they are, we'll know who could have taken the props.
That sounds like something that might be on the Muppet call board.
Good idea. Detectives, go to the Muppet call board now. It's marked with a green star on your map.
Hey, fellas, steam room's open.
So with this game, as you heard from Pepe and Kermit, that you can visit the call board. And so we found a piece of clue, but we need to try to help piece it together. So we're going to go to we can go to the call board on deck 4 and figure out what does this green paint mean. There's another set piece that we can visit. I don't know if you guys have come across it yet, but it's Pepe's stateroom door. And so he's decorated it with all his fun excursions and even left a number for you to call so you can call him on your wave phone too. But these are just some added touches that we have for this new Muppet Adventure Game.
Yeah, two things to add to this is technology is one end of it. It enables us to expand our storytelling on the ship, and so whereas a few years ago maybe this wouldn't be as easy for us to produce, nowadays we can take this as a tool, and it's, again, like I said yesterday, for a 7-day tour, you can play this game multiple times over the tour and not get tired of it, and we have a smart system so that you route you around the ship differently so that multiple groups don't run into each other, and so it's very flexible and allows us to update it. Like, we added the Muppet game for this ship. We use the core of the technology from the Dream to add that, so these games are, relatively easy to add to and become very flexible. Secondly, I just wanted to add too, in terms of technology, as we get more and more technological, in terms of, the kind of people that we bring into the company that can produce shows like this. Karen's a perfect example of sort of a new generation of Imagineer that grew up with all this technology, and so the storytelling and the technology and all those tools that maybe I had to learn later in life, she grew up with it, my kids grew up with it, and so you'll see a new generation of Imagineer like her come through and be able to utilize this technology to give us more options for all the great storytelling that we do. So thank you very much for the little presentation. When we were playtesting this, we have to be very careful what we put on there because people read into clues that aren't there.
Right.
And so Karen didn't mention this, but we play tested this in Glendale, California numerous times. We brought kids in after school. They went around a building. We have a warehouse, and we just ran them around the building. And because it's really interesting to see what people read into it. We don't have the opportunity to make a lot of changes once we're on board, so we want to play test it as much as possible so that the changes are minimal, because we're always going to learn stuff from our guests anyway. And we try to minimize that once we're in, so we try to bring hundreds of kids through and play it before we bring it out here. But this is a really cute addition. The team came up with it. It gets a lot of oohs and ahs because it's so unexpected.
And there you have it, a bit of Muppet Adventure Game fun featuring Imagineers on board the Disney Fantasy, and I learned a lot in talking to them. I thought it was really interesting the way Bob Zulk there near the end mentioned that Karen Leung is sort of that new generation of Imagineer, if you will, and it's something we're seeing a lot more of. You wonder why Disney is putting all this interactivity into the theme parks now aboard the cruise line as well, and I think there's something to be said there about these Imagineers, these younger Imagineers now, who are like me, who grew up playing Nintendo and Atari and other video games that didn't necessarily exist in sort of the older Imagineers' childhoods, and when they look at an experience that's going to go into a Disney attraction, they may approach it very differently than how a younger Imagineer may, who's already well versed in the world of interactivity and video games. And you can only imagine what today's toddlers are, who are playing with iPhones and iPads, what they're going to come up with in the future when they reach the age to become Imagineers. Speaking of kids, I also wanted to mention that in walking around the ship, at one point we were trying to actually finish up the Muppets Adventure Game, and Michelle and I spotted a young, I assume they were sisters with their dad. They were trying to go to dinner at the Enchanted Garden up on the Disney Fantasy. They were literally on their way into dinner, but there's a couple of pieces of enchanted art right near there, and that's where you play the Muppets Adventure Game. You hold up the card to any of these pieces of enchanted art, which is artwork that just kind of comes alive when you walk up to it. And so on the way into dinner, these kids saw the Muppets Adventure Game, or the Midship Detective Agency starting point, grabbed their cards and started playing without any assistance from anybody. One of the girls was maybe 6 years old, and the other one couldn't have been any older than 3 years old, both completely adept and able to play this game, whereas some of the older generations actually have difficulty playing it. It's just kind of fun to see these younger kids growing up with this technology, able to adapt and be able to work with something as sort of unusual as grabbing a piece of paper, holding it up to a screen, using it as a controller. It comes very naturally to today's younger generations, which is great, and I think that's important that Disney uses the knowledge that people have and are growing up with today to create more incredible attractions for the future, because they can't just go with what you already have at home. They have to continue to innovate and expand what is possible in a Disney experience, and I think that's really what the Midship Detective Agency and the Muppet Adventure Game is really all about. So on that note, that is kind of why I feel that this Muppets Adventure Game is more fun to me than Sorcerers in the Magic Kingdom. There's certainly some fun elements about Sorcerers, a lot more animation, a lot of really great sort of storylines there tied in with the villains and moving around the park. And of course, you're in a theme park, not just on the cruise ship. The actual interactions at each individual stage. When it comes to Sorcerers, you simply hold up a card, you watch a scene, you move on. You don't really do anything. It has that wow factor when you walk up to it in the park and have an ordinary window turn extraordinary when it a magic portal appears by tapping the card up to the little key. But when it comes to the Enchanted Art and the Disney Cruise Line, when you make an already wow-worthy piece of enchanted art come alive even further by holding up one of these cards, and then you interact with more than just holding up a card, but you virtually pop balloons, or you search with a flashlight, or you fling knives around, or you blowtorch ice carvings, or any other number of games. It's so much more interactive and amazing to me, and it's all over the Fantasy. These pieces of enchanted artwork are in forward, midship, and aft, usually by the elevators, usually by the staircases, so it's easy access to everything. Very conveniently located. You can get around at your convenience. You don't have to play it all at once. It takes about an hour or so to finish the Muppets game, including time to walk around. The Muppets game is a little bit more involved and a little bit more difficult than the other two Midship Detective Agency games, but it's really fun along the way. It's a great way to explore the Disney Fantasy ship, see different stairwells and different areas of the ship that you otherwise may not have gone to, and in the process, you can still have some fun along the way instead of just staring at the scenery around you. You can also interact with things, and you can, as I said, completely do it at your own pace. A little bit one day, a little bit the next day, or you can do it all at once if you want. And you don't have to, unlike Sorcerers in the Magic Kingdom, where it tells you now go to this one, now go to this one. The Midship Detective Agency and Muppets Adventure Game, you can really go to any piece of enchanted art that you want to that's on the map that they give you. Those are the special ones that, which is most of the enchanted art. You can go to those and do it in any order that you want to advance what you're doing. Occasionally, it'll tell you to go to specific elements, like you heard them mention the Muppets call board and Peppy the King Prawns, a stateroom door, little tiny stateroom door, which are the great physical elements to tie into the whole game. But other than that, you can really go whenever you want. It's got really high replayability because it is a different result every time, different artwork that you go to. Really a whole lot of fun overall, an experience that I enjoyed. If you are not planning on going on a Disney cruise anytime soon, on the Dream or the Fantasy, and you want to see more of what both the Midship Detective Agency and the Muppets Adventure Game are all about, then you can go over to InsideTheMagic.net or go on our YouTube channel. And there you will see I posted full walkthroughs of both games. Of course, as I said, they change every time you play through it. So you may get a different culprit, a different villain at the end who is responsible for whatever is you're trying to solve in that case. So you're not necessarily spoiling everything, but if you do head over there, you can really sort of get a complete walkthrough of what the whole experience is like and get a good sense of what it is. And, you know, I hope more of this level of interactivity makes its way into the parks instead of just a hold up the card and move on. So there it is, the Muppets Adventure Game, one of the many new and fun experiences aboard the Disney Fantasy. Of course, as I said earlier, you can definitely head on over to our website to see much more from the Fantasy, and of course listen to last week's show as well, where I talked all about it. And now I want to put in a quick word about Lanyard Lab. If you've got a business to promote, maybe you're attending a convention that you need to wear an ID card, or you go to a school or a church and you need an ID card there as well. Wearing it around your neck with a custom lanyard, great way to do it. And you can customize your lanyard by going to lanyardlab.com. Click anywhere that it says get a quote, fill in all your information and submit it to us, whether it's a logo or text or any colors that you want to put on the material. We'll email you back with a price quote for your design along with a proof showing you what your lanyards will look like. It's all an online process, no obligation to purchase. You can preview it for free, and if you do like what you see, you can purchase it online as well. Simple as that, all over at lanyardlab.com. That's LANYARDLAB.com.
Hey, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky.
Hey, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky.
Hey, Ricky.
Ricky, this is amazing.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Inside the Magic listener feedback.
So we skipped listener feedback last week because it was a very, very long show all about the Disney Fantasy, so let's dive right into it this week. And then I actually do have one more feature to include even after listener feedback, so keep on listening for all of that. But right now, here's the first email. It comes in from Bill, who writes, in response to a couple of weeks ago, somebody had asked if Mulch, Sweat, and Shears, the band over at Disney's Hollywood Studios, has a presence outside of Walt Disney World, and I wasn't sure. I thought perhaps they did. Well, Bill writes, Mulch, Sweat, and Shears does have a presence outside Walt Disney World. Their real world name is Los Lawn Boys, so good to know there. Thanks very much, Bill. Next email is from Dawn, who writes, my daughter and I have been to Walt Disney World several times, but this year we are going for Christmas for the first time. I heard it is the most crowded time of year. Do you have any tips for maximizing our time in the parks? Also, any suggestions you have for extra magical activities that are unique to that time of year would be greatly appreciated. And I know it's still months away, but I'm an early planner. Well, Don, certainly I definitely have some tips for Christmas time. The number one thing you can do to make it extra magical is wander around. Go to the hotels, go to downtown Disney, explore, go beyond the theme parks, because everything across Walt Disney World is decorated for Christmas time, and it is beautiful. Twinkling lights, special music, special musical acts at downtown Disney. A lot of it is even free to see, so definitely take the time to spend some time outside of the theme parks and really take it all in. Yes, it will be crowded if you are literally going the week of Christmas. It's going to be very, very crowded. However, Disney tries to combat that by offering additional entertainment like at the Magic Kingdom. Normally, Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party is an upcharge. It's a separately ticketed event, except during that week of Christmas and toward the end of the year, they offer the special Christmas time fireworks and the special Christmas time parade as part of the normal Magic Kingdom day. So if you are actually going right around December 25th, you'll be able to enjoy those extra activities at the Magic Kingdom as well. But as you said, it is going to be certainly very, very crowded. So there's a couple of tips. Exploring definitely being the most important one, because there's so much more to see than just the theme parks. Next up, Emily writes in and says, this weekend I had the chance to go on the Walt Disney World Backstage Magic Tour. I heard it took guests behind the scenes of many rides and sounded interesting, but being a Disney fan and thinking I already knew everything, I was a bit leery of going on the tour. Regardless, I went on the tour and I was blown away at the things I learned and got to see. I saw where they made the ride vehicles and saw them painting the new Dumbo seats. I even got to go into the utilidors under the Magic Kingdom. And don't get steered away when you see that it's 8 hours long, because it was 8 hours well spent. It was an amazing experience, and I would recommend it to any Disney fan. Emily, definitely, Disney's tours, they do a really, really nice job with those, and you're right. You can read the description of a lot of them, and if you're a big Disney fan, you can kind of think, oh, that's going to be boring. I already know everything, but you know what? You probably don't. There's always extra tidbits that you don't know, and even if you do know everything, seeing it in person is different than reading about it online and knowing it in your head. So the experience of walking through the utilidors or going backstage or any number of things like that can definitely be exciting regardless of how much you know. So great email. Thanks very much. Next up, Todd, the IT guy, writes in and says, actually, this is in response to somebody who recently asked if you could use your Apple Airport Express to create sort of a ad hoc wireless connection right there using Disney's wired connections. Anyway, Todd writes, I have used my Apple Airport Express at Walt Disney World. Just set it up as the primary wireless router, and you'll have no problems accessing the internet with your other wireless devices. It's best to do this before you leave for your trip from an airport utility on your computer. Just one caveat, you'll have to keep accepting the Walt Disney World agreement via your web browser on your devices in order to get the internet or using data for any apps. You have to do this when you leave your Airport Express Wi-Fi area and return. So, Todd, great. Thanks for that confirmation. Next up, an email from Dana, who writes, during show 362, a listener had asked about good dining in the Magic Kingdom to view wishes. One place that was not mentioned was inside Cinderella's castle. My family and I discovered this accidentally during our trip last year. We were lucky enough to get a late reservation. It just happened to coincide with the fireworks show. Obviously, it's very expensive and almost impossible to get reservations, but if you have a little luck and maybe some pixie dust, then it is truly a magical experience. Dana, that is one I have never done. Sounds like a really great way to view the fireworks, and as you said, it's a little difficult to get in there, but if you can, an extra magical bonus. And now let's go over to a voicemail.
Hey Ricky, it's Melanie from South Florida. I'm at the Magic Kingdom right now, and today was my first day doing the Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom game. And I was kindly asked by Lisa if I would do a survey for the game, so of course I said yes. And they asked me who referred me or told me about the game, Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom, and I proudly said I listened to Inside the Magic. Just want to let you know that. Have a great day, and have a magical day too. Bye.
Bye, Ricky.
Thanks very much for that call, and for whoever said bye there in the background. That's really great. I appreciate Disney does surveys, of course, quite regularly of people in the park and their experiences, and does often ask, how did you hear about this, or how did you hear about that? And anybody who ever is able to tell Disney's cast members in those surveys that you heard about it from Inside the Magic, whether it's here on the podcast or on the website or on YouTube or anywhere else, it definitely lets Disney know that what we do is not only appreciated, but also, we get the word out. Basically, that's kind of our goal here, is to not only, be Disney fans, but also share that Disney magic with everybody all over. And whenever there's anything new and exciting happening, I'm more than happy to tell the world about it. And it's always great for you to help out by letting Disney know that that happens. Of course, don't go out of your way to, call them or write to them or anything. But if they happen to ask you, hey, where'd you hear about this? Then of course, tell them Inside the Magic. So thanks very much for that call. Next up, an email from Megan, who writes, just want to say I love the show, constantly listening to it. Second of all, I wanted to know if you know or have any information about the Walt Disney World International program. I'm from the UK and very interested in it, such as the requirements, etc. Have a magical day. Well, Megan, thanks very much for the email. I'm not hugely familiar with the international program. I know of it. I know the basics of it. I know there's a very long sort of process for applying and getting approved. I've heard of some people getting approved and coming and enjoying the the whole experience, of course. And then I've heard of others who are not as lucky and get denied from the program for a variety of reasons. So there's definitely better places to ask, unfortunately, than me. I'm, of course, in the United States, and I'm not completely familiar with it. I know we've had a lot of international program listeners over the years who have been through there and had a really great time once they got here, and really just enjoyed the whole process. But as far as the requirements for getting in there, you're probably better searching online than asking me, unfortunately. But I appreciate the email, and good luck. And let me know if you make it out here to Walt Disney World as part of the program. Next up, an email from Joey, who writes, with the new expansion to Fantasyland going on at the Magic Kingdom, are they going to get rid of some of the older and popular attractions like It's a Small World and Mickey's PhilharMagic? Well, Joey, no, they're not. In fact, that whole side of Fantasyland is more or less staying the same. There is some construction going on over there near It's a Small World, and nobody's entirely sure as to what exactly that's going to be for certain. But Mickey's PhilharMagic is going to be around for the foreseeable future, and It's a Small World certainly is not going anywhere, so I wouldn't worry about that. Next email is from a different Joey, who writes, Walt Disney World announced recently that Fast Pass tickets will now only work between the allotted times given. Is this change coming to Disneyland? I know I am guilty of not returning between the times, but it is usually for a good reason, lunch, different park, etc. Also, do you know if Disneyland's fireworks show Magical will be returning this summer? I know last summer they had that new show, but I didn't get a chance to see it. Will it be returning? I hope so. Well, Joey, I have not heard of Disneyland making the same Fast Pass change. I know a lot of people are concerned about that, and as of now, Disneyland has not announced any plans to change their Fast Pass time enforcement of that rule. As far as Magical and the fireworks show over the summer, I haven't heard anything about that either. There was the big Summer Night-tastic a few years ago, and Magical was part of that, and then it came back, and then, the Disney has not said anything about this summer so far. They certainly have a lot that is going on this summer between Cars Land and Buena Vista Street and everything else over at Disney California Adventure, as well as the return of the Matterhorn over at Disneyland, but we don't know just yet as to whether or not Magical will be returning to Disneyland. Just a couple of more emails. We've got one from Michelle, who writes, I want to say that I really enjoy your show. I listen every day on the way to and from work. It makes me feel more connected to Disney from Ohio and makes the 25-minute commute more enjoyable. My question is this. I will be going to Walt Disney World this summer, early June, and want to make sure we find the best seats possible to watch the parade. What parades do you recommend, and where do you find the best places to sit? There will be a group of 10 of us, and most do not want to get the best seats, where you have to sit down 2 hours before the parade starts. Along the same lines, where is the best place to sit for illuminations at Epcot? Well, Michelle, the key word that you're using there is sit, and that can be a little bit difficult. For me, when I watch parades, when I watch fireworks, I stand. That is the easiest thing, and chances are if you try to find somewhere to sit, you're going to get annoyed because somebody's going to walk and stand right in front of you at the last minute. You may have been sitting there for 2 hours, guarding your area and getting that perfect seat, and sure enough, somebody's going to walk right in front of you and just stand, because that's what happens. Most people stand to watch these experiences. So assuming that standing is not a problem, for illuminations, a really great spot to watch that fireworks show is dead straight on when you're coming up from Future World into the World Showcase. Just keep on walking straight to the the water there, and that is sort of the perfectly symmetrical view of illuminations surrounding the World Showcase. The bridge over near France, sort of connecting the UK to France, is a fun place to see illuminations because it's very close to the fire barge as well. So if you want that extra sort of proximity to the big heat and the fireballs, all of that, that's a really fun and unique spot as well. But really all over the World Showcase Lagoon, anywhere up against the water is a great place to see it. As far as places to sit, though, I don't know if you're going to find a lot for illuminations. When it comes to parades, assuming, you must be talking about the Magic Kingdom, because, well, the parades over at Animal Kingdom, it's not very difficult to get a spot to see those. And Hollywood Studios, I'm just not much of a fan of that parade, so we'll just skip that one. But over at Magic Kingdom, to watch the parades there, if there's multiple parade showtimes, always go for the second one. That's the one that's going to give you less people around, and you'll have a better chance of seeing it. A great spot to watch the parade in Town Square at the Magic Kingdom is just basically where it either, depending on the direction it's going, either steps off or comes on right next to the firehouse across the street from there, near the store and the barber shop over there. Excellent spot to watch the parade. You get a nice up-close view, and it usually doesn't get too crowded over there, and you can almost always walk up, within the last 15-20 minutes, even sometimes sooner than that, before the parade ends. And then if you're interested in exiting the park right after the parade, you're just a straight shot right out. So there you go. A couple of parade and fireworks viewing tips. Next, an email from Gary from Staten Island, who writes, "My family loves going to Old Key West. This year we want to try something different. Kidani Village or Bay Lake Tower, 2-bedroom. Your thoughts?" We're leaning toward Kidani. Love the show. Gary, I would have to agree. Bay Lake Tower is certainly a nice hotel. Great views of the Magic Kingdom if you get up high and on the right side. But Kidani Village definitely has that great extra theming. I love Animal Kingdom Lodge as a whole. You've got great, access to great amenities there, wonderful restaurants, and it feels sort of separated from the rest of Walt Disney World to give you that added sort of immersive experience. Bay Lake Tower, there's nothing wrong with it, but I personally would prefer Kidani as well. One more email from, this one is from Tony, who writes, "My wife and I were at Walt Disney World this past November and greatly enjoyed the enhanced clarity and smoothness of Impressions de France at Epcot since it has been updated to digital projection. We also visited the other attractions like Circle Vision, such as the Circle Vision 360 movies at China and Canada, and were disappointed to see dirty, jittery film mar the show on one or more of the screens in those attractions. Do you think there will be any plans to update these other film-based attractions with digital projections? Soarin' is another attraction that often suffers from debris in the projector that frankly destroys the illusion they're trying to create when you ride. Are there technical reasons that would prevent them from using digital projection on that attraction?" Tony, great question, and I can't imagine there are any technical reasons other than simply they just haven't done it yet. I imagine all projections around Walt Disney World and all of Disney's parks will eventually be upgraded to digital. They've certainly been working their way through, the Haunted Mansion Singing Bus and Madame Leota, for example, were upgraded at some point within the last few years, and it's just a, little by little process that, it's often they're working on newer experiences, not so much focusing on the older ones that are less attended. And I agree that, film projections, once you've experienced a nice, great, clear projection from a digital projector, it's a world of difference from a grainy, dusty, scratched film projection that's jittering all over the place. But it's something I guess we're just going to have to live with till they get around to fixing it. And that'll do it for listener feedback this week.
There's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow.
And now we approach almost the end of show 365, because I actually have one more thing I want to share at the tail end of this show for the audio version only, and that's going to be the premiere, the debut of the new Disney Dreams show at Disneyland Paris. It premiered last night to media and invited guests. The grand public opening is today, and it is just a fantastic show that if you're not going to be at Disneyland Paris anytime soon, it's something you really do want to tune into and enjoy. For those of you watching the video version of this show, it's already on YouTube, so I'm not going to include it again here on the video portion. You'll just be able to click a link, which I will put up, I guess, right about here or so, right about now in this portion of the video, and you can just click on that and enjoy the show. For those of you listening to the audio version, just stay tuned right after the tail end of this song and the wrap-up of this show, and you'll be able to listen to the entirety of Disney Dreams, the new castle show for Disneyland Paris. It's from lead Imagineer behind World of Color and many other other experience is Steve Davison. He's the creative director and vice president of parades and spectaculars for Disney. He previously was show director and art director for Disneyland, and this is really the culmination of years of achievements for him and the Disney team, and I hope something like this comes to the Magic Kingdom to replace Wishes in the future. So anyway, enjoy that at the tail end of the show, or just check it out in HD on our YouTube channel. Before all that, I do want to thank Magical Travel for sponsoring this week's episode of Inside the Magic. You can find out more about their services by visiting magicaltravel.com. Also, check out Theme Park Connection, all their Disney rare collectibles and unique items they have for sale on their eBay store, as well as in their physical store here in Florida, all over at themeparkconnection.com. And visit us over at lanyardlab.com to see all the different styles and custom lanyard options that we have available. You can request a price quote today to receive a free digital preview of your lanyard design. And between episodes of this podcast, be sure to visit InsideTheMagic.net. It is your source for Disney and theme park news. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube. All those links are on the website, as well as videos and photos and articles and so much more from the Disney Fantasy, the Avengers Monorail, and beyond. So that'll about wrap up show 365, with the exception of Disney Dreams, for those of you listening. And thanks for listening and for watching each and every week. And now, have a magical week. See you next Sunday. Bye.
Just a dream of